Welcome to these sci-fi guys. I'm here as your host as always. I'm Dave. Adding with me is John and Chad. Today we are doing Judge Dredd from 1995. Sylvester Stallone at his finest, right? We're going to get into some of the discussions about this movie and all that. I just thought it was really, I don't know, it was. Can I say it was a bad movie without saying it was a
you
bad
certainly
movie?
can. You can.
I am the law. All right. I mean, it was just over the top. All right. And I know that several people really hated this movie because it was so over the top and Dredd kept taking his helmet off. While there was a sequel with Carl Urban in it, and he never takes his helmet off at all the whole time. So, with that being said, we're going to start with. It's a new segment, motivations. What I call it, motivation, circumstances, and dynamics. So you have four major characters here. We have Dredd. All right. We have Hershey. She was another judge. You had Rico, who was the villain, and then you had Roy Schneider, which I can't remember what his name. Ripley, right? No,
Fergie?
Fergie. Thank you, Fergie. Couldn't think of what he was called. All right. So we'll start out with John. Who was the first character that you noticed in this movie?
I'm trying to remember now. I believe it was Fergie, right?
No.
It was Fergie.
Yeah,
Yes,
it was coming back.
It was him coming back
Opening
from
scene.
jail.
Yeah, poor guy, man.
Poor guy. I mean, he just was trying I'm like, okay, I messed up. I did my time. Let me just get back. And then they're like, oh, that would be a great place. Look at they're swimming and all that. And they're like, you're not going there.
Nope.
Not you.
That's not where you're headed at all.
Yeah. Okay, Chad, who was the next person then that we saw?
Oh, Lord. It was the girl judge.
Hershey.
Hershey.
Yeah, Hershey, yeah. And shortly after that, she ended up calling in Dredd. Or calling for backup. And Dredd was the one that showed up.
Yeah, I got this. Yeah.
He knows what he's doing.
And of course, she was with
30 million raises 200. We got 300. It's 200 yards.
Yeah. He just like they're not going to hit us, and it's like I don't know. It was just so over the top, and it was fun though. It really was a fun movie, but it was so over the top. So so what kind of relationship did we'll start with Fergie and Dredd. What did they? Chad, you're laughing, so I'm going to go with you. What was the relationship that they had?
Not the kind of relationship you want to say, but it's more of a love hate. Like, hey, I am the law. I am the law, and you got your shirts right.
Yeah, it's just the whole thing with
it's funny how they ended up running the same thing to the prison together.
Oh, and then when he stuck the hand up there and he's like, Dredd.
Quiet.
Okay, so how about the relationship between Dredd and Hershey, John?
I mean, definitely felt a little strenuous and kind of all over the place because at times it's like, yeah, we're on the same team, and then no, we're not. Yes, we are. No, we're not. Although, I mean, definitely reconciled at the end. Comes in and saves the day a few times. Saves his life 3 times, I think, by her count. So, I mean, super duper credit for that at the same time. And I wish we could have seen some resolution and payback, but here we are. She saved him 3 times, and that's just how it was.
Yeah. Okay, and then there really wasn't any relationship between Fergie and Hershey. I mean, just that Fergie was there when Dredd was there. So just the 3 of them ended up becoming the A-team. And then they had to go fight Rico. So who was Rico? Y'all, somebody jump in. Who was Rico?
Yeah, that was Dredd's brother, really. Genetic brother, really, to say. More of a test tube baby.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to get into stuff about that later on. But okay, so Rico was the bad guy. he was basically a clone, just like Dredd was of.
The
Can't remember the
Supreme.
guy's name.
It was
This
the Chief. I
Chief
forgot his
Justice
Chief
something.
Justice.
Yeah, and then they said
Mhm.
but then Rico just went like nuts,
Yeah.
and and then Dredd was I am the law,
Well,
so
you got to
Threw
say
him in
this.
jail. Got rid of him.
You got to say this. I don't think it might be coincidence that Rico went nuts. It could be things got altered for Rico.
yeah. Well, since you brought that up, let's go. Questions. We're gonna ask some questions here. So, since we're already talking about it, all right, we've talked about artificial inception and cloning. So, the way that they described it in this movie, do you guys think that it's plausible that this could have been a way to do it where they took the DNA from one person and they basically cloned it and tried to tweak on it a little bit and then make it into a baby, a human being?
I mean, in general, I mean that's technically what any cloning kind of is. And if you go again, kind of that like Gattaca route where you're just adjusting DNA to get rid of stuff, add stuff in. If you combine the two ideas, I mean, I definitely could see some plausibility to it, depending on how accurate we get in either of those things. But I definitely think it for a long time, regardless, it's going to be cloning first. Not cloning first in the timeline, but like it's going to be cloning by itself or genetic modification by itself. Like I think they're going to run by themselves for a long time before they ever really get shoved together.
Chad, anything?
I kind of agree with John. I don't. Other than that,
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it both ways. I can see, and I'm in agreement with both of you guys. I agree. I think it's going to be one or the other for a long time, not actually the intermeshing of the two, cloning and genetic engineering. So, okay, all right. So, Judge Dredd had, or all the judges had a pretty kicking pistol. All right, I
mhm.
know. So this won't be shown in schools most likely because we're going to talk about guns. So, but the gun that he had was awesome. Where voice controlled to be able to change, the type of ammo you're using to be DNA coded, to a specific user, so no one can use that weapon except for that user. So my question is, do you guys think we're ever going to get to a point in our lifetimes, let's just say, where that will happen, where we will get DNA coding on weaponry, where that way they know, okay, hey, a robber steals my gun. Oh well, it's not a big deal. He can't do anything with it, or what? I mean, what do you guys think, Chad? How about you? What do you think?
I don't think we're gonna get that far. At least not for the civilian factor. Maybe more in the military and that side. But other than that, I don't even see them going that way. That's too much money to put into into something that maybe, hey, look, like you go in the military. Hey, here's your rifle. Do you keep that rifle when you what are they gonna do with it when he retires? They got to throw it away. If it's,
Reprogram it.
I can
maybe
see. Yeah, yeah. All right, John. So put your say yours piece then.
I mean, I think bare minimum. I don't know if we ever will get there. I highly doubt that we ever would, because that's a lot of technology packed into at least a pistol. Maybe a rifle we could get there because you could pack in a little more tech or at least your larger weaponry. But like, I do think it solve a lot of problems with the DNA coding. Obviously, you have some troubles with twins. So if one twin does a crime and passes it off to another twin, you got issues overall. However, if only the person that has it can fire it, I mean, problem solved, case solved every time, so long as the ammo's found. And like 90% of the time, I assume it is. So like, I mean, pretty case solved on a lot of things. It would solve a lot of overall issues that people think are out there. I think overall, I think that could work well, but I don't think we'll ever get there.
And I'm in agreement with both of you. I think one, it's too cost prohibitive. For one, for two, there's already too many guns out there in the world, and you're not going to get rid of them overnight. And no one is going to, hey, I'm going to hand this in just so I can get this other one. I mean, if they were to do a 1-for-1 swap or something, there's still going to be so many out there. It probably would not happen in our lifetime, but it is something I can see them eventually achieving and going for, just because. I mean, it could be as simple as, I mean, you saw it. I mean, the gun was full of electronics, so there's got to be some kind of way to, like you said earlier about, you could reprogram it, you could take a chip out and replace the chip or whatever, and then be able to do something like that in the long run. I
Hey,
don't know.
look, if you look at it, where's the ammo?
Yeah, I didn't save that for plot holes. So
Well, yeah, but see, there's a better point. Maybe we just code ammo to the person, so when you go to buy the ammo, then the ammo's just coded to you, because then it wouldn't matter about the weapon.
Well, it does, because the weapon's gotta have some kind of how to activate the fire. Because you notice when the guy picked up that judge's weapon, and all the other criminals like, no, don't do it, and all of a sudden electrocuted him. So
yeah, I think it had way too. I mean, too many features, like you guys were saying. In such, I mean, yes, it was a big gun, but it was, just the power alone to have all that. And then when they got into where each bullet they put a little piece of DNA ring on, I mean, just, you know, the size of bullets and all that. I mean, you're going to get like 2 shots and then you're done, just
Yeah,
with all the other stuff that's in there. So yeah, I think it'd be cool. And I think eventually maybe they can get to that. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I'm not sure that's ever going to happen, just because of the cost. But I'd like your idea of when you buy ammo and it gets DNA coded. I can see that. That would be a interesting thing. But that doesn't prevent the problem of someone stealing your gun after you've loaded it and now
no.
your DNA's on it. But as long
uh,
as you you
Well, I'm saying if you're the only one that could fire the ammo, like that part is coded to you.
I could see
Like
that.
even if your ammo's in another weapon, then it's just not going to fire. That person's just like out of luck.
Okay. Well, let's go to the next question then. All right. So my next question is, what do you think about a society where the police are judge, jury, and executioner, such as this movie? Is that better or about the same as what we've got right now?
I'll say that's not a little bit of both, but I don't think it's better because you see in this movie, even the Chief Justice said he even questioned it and said, "Hey, have we gone too far?" Because he at the time he's looking at Lady Justice, the blind, because the justice is supposed to be blind. It's not supposed to be your person. Not supposed to be the one that judges or you arrest, then you judge, then you execute. It's supposed to be very blind. That way, nobody's supposed to get corrupt. But today's world, I'll still say it's about the same because it's corrupt there, corrupt anywhere you go. You can make it corrupt.
Yeah, no matter what, you're still dealing with people, and no matter
Yeah,
what, people are still going to be corrupt, and no matter what, that's just where we're at. I mean, we live in a fallen world, and fallen people aren't going to make perfect choices, and so regardless of the system, there's going to be flaws, and it can swing heavily, incorrectly wrong in either direction. Like there's always going to be extremes that just aren't right, and there are systems that could be better, but if they're not run by the right people, they even will fall. I mean, that's just the world we live in.
Yeah, I think at times, some police officers could be considered all three: judge, jury, and executioner.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is what they are hired for. I don't think that's what they believe in for the most part. I'm saying the majority of them. I don't think that's what they believe in, and that's why they took, that's why they wear the badge, is to protect and serve. Uh, I just think that this movie shows the worst it could go. the actual, I actually took a picture of the title. I don't have it for the screen for you guys, but the very beginning there was like a title crawl, and it said millions of people crowded into the few mega cities where roving bands of street savages created violence the justice system could not control. Law, as we know it, collapsed. From that decay rose a new order, a society ruled by a new elite force, a force with the power to dispense both justice and punishment. They were the police, they were the judge and executioner all in one. They were the judges. So that's what this movie says. I don't think I mean, if our society would have to be really messed up to get to this point where where they were able to do all of them. But a follow up question then to this is how do we'll go ahead and use modern times, how can we prevent corruption or just like Dredd did, getting it wrong? Dredd threw Fergie back into jail and he was wrong because Fergie was just trying to survive. He was trying to hide, and Dredd said, okay, well, you could just jump out the window. And he's like, that's 3 stories up. I die. So,
well, that's not illegal.
Exactly. That's not illegal. I mean, I think, you can even go back to, your ancient Bible back with the Philistines and where they take the law literally too much to one side, and I think that they, maybe that's kind of what they wanted to put in this movie a little bit. But how do we prevent it? How do we prevent corruption? And how do we prevent, police officers just getting it wrong?
Well, if you look at this, I'm going to use Fergie. I think he was in the wrong place, wrong time. But if you look before Dredd shows up and judged him, he was sitting there holding a grenade in the scene. Why don't I go down there and surrender, and then you can do something? He was actively doing it. So and he was hacking the droid. So it's a illegal act to do what he was doing, but he was trying to save my life. I think he just came up with that. But to get it wrong, everybody's gonna get stuff wrong. But that's what I said. I don't think police officers should have hey, I arrested you. You going to jail or just right now? No, you don't go see jury anything. But I don't. It's going to take a while.
Oh yeah. And I mean, the antithesis to corruption as a whole is just accountability, and I think that comes down to ultimately everyone holding every piece accountable. And I think that comes from both sides. That comes from higher up down, and that comes from citizens on the way up. Like, regardless, to help corruption, you have to hold people accountable. And even in the little things, the little lies, the little things, because eventually those get bigger and bigger and spiral out of control. And then you have someone who's like super corrupt. And so accountability in general at all levels. Now, what that accountability looks like to prevent corruption, that's where things get dicey and difficult. And like, how much do you punish the people who are, upholding the law? And to what extent do you do those things? And that's where life gets crazy. But I mean, accountability is the answer to corruption. It's just what exactly that means that the conversation gets difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it can go so many ways. I mean, I think that's for the lightheartedness of this movie. It really did bring up some really ethical questions. Of course, as I read in the intro, everybody was out living for themselves, so there was no law, and basically they had to do something. But like Chad said also earlier, is the judges actually looked at it and said, "Hey, have we gone too far? Have we, what can we do now to? We really need to pull back, but how do we do that? How do we pull back? And I think just like what you guys said is, if we as a society take it little by little, and when something is wrong, we call them on it, and just we have to keep doing that constantly, so that way, the truth is going to be out there. So, All right, with that, we're going to do the next segment, which is plot holes. All right. I actually have a whole list of them. I'm not going to. Yeah, do you see any plot holes that just jumped out at you right away?
Well, I can say this. I was going after with the bullets. Like you got the new fancy gun, supposed to have DNA code in it, so where you don't see him reload. That's about normal for is you don't see nobody reload. They just keep going and going.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that it drives my wife nuts. You know, if I'm watching an action movie or something, I'm one of those guys that counts the bullets. Okay, 1, 2,
Mhm.
3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that's more than a Glock 17 has, or that's got more than an AR-15 will hold, or that's more. You know, I am one of those guys that constantly counts. All right, John, did you see any that just jumped right out at you?
I mean, almost more glaring to me is like, and I get where the brother came from, but how the brother just kind of pops back up. It seemed almost kind of random to me when he first came back into the picture, and I was like, "Where are you coming from?" And like, "Why are you here?" Which is not a direct plot hole, but that one confused me on the front end. It did get explained as the movie went on, but like, it did throw me off.
Oh, Rico. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Rico.
Well, then here I got a couple. There, I mean, most of these I've got are short. All right, but okay. So, okay. How about this one? The guards. So they're on this. They're on the ship. So then Fergie just sees Dredd, and the guards completely miss that the guy had a knife. How did he get a knife? I mean, and it wasn't a shiv that you would get in prison. It was a no kidding regular knife,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so here's a good one. All right, so you have the family, right? So the family was taking people basically because they're cannibals, right? They were going to eat
Yeah.
them. Why did they leave the pilot? The pilot was still alive, but why was the pilot just left there? Again, these are ones that
Wasn't
make
a
you
believer.
think. Okay, so Hershey, who was a street judge, got her butt kicked by a small Oriental woman who was a scientist. I mean, I'm sorry. No, I just don't see it. I don't see, and of course, the whole change. You know, she was a scientist, and all of a sudden, then she falls madly in love with Rico or whatever. I mean, that was just so far out there. And then, of course, the best one, the really one is okay. So Fergie and Dredd have to run into the
Yeah.
fire thing, right? So they're running into it towards the fire, but yet the scene shows the fire coming up from behind them. You know, if you remember, go look when
Yeah.
he actually jumps down into the hole, the fire is coming from behind them. It should be coming towards them, not behind them. So that's kind of one of those. Those are my plot holes that I saw. So what's our next step? Oh, our next thing is going to be whether you guys are going to give this a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Yeah. Boo.
All right, Chad, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Like I've seen this movie several times. I mean, I enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a. I give it a thumbs up.
Okay, John. I know you went out and
Yep.
bought this movie. This was the first time you've seen it, so
Yeah, this one. So if I'm a fourth
you
grade
could
teacher.
go like this if you're like, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no. I'm a fourth grade teacher. We teach rounding, and so if I teach rounding, and I was here, like not here, not here. If I was here, then it would round up. So we'll go thumbs up.
And myself, because I'm the one that picked it, doesn't mean I pick all the good movies either. So seems like my track record might not be that good, but we'll see. I'm going to give it a thumbs up just because I love the overacting. I love the I am the law, and just
Oh yeah, it's absolutely just a phenomenal entertainment.
I
film.
hate you.
yeah, it was just funny. It really was to me. I mean, and the worst part is that if you look at the CGI for this movie and how bad it was, I mean, it came out the same year as Jurassic Park did. It came out the same year as I can't think of what the other movie that it was compared against to when I was reading some stuff. But anyway, basically, they were trying to shove all this CGI, and it just was not good CGI. I mean, the whole thing with on the motorcycles and flying around the cities and stuff. I mean,
No.
it was so poorly done. Now, if they were to redo something like it now, I mean, they did a few years ago. So in the early 2000s, they did with Carl Urban, and it was quite a bit different. It was not a comical movie. It was
More serious and
more serious,
I think
more towards the comics.
yeah, with the comics, not the funny side of it. Eh, To say, I enjoy this one better than the new one. I I like how Stallone took the helmet off. Gives more the personal side of it. Other than the other one was great. Just following the comics. Because in the comics, you never see Dredd take the helmet off.
Right. Yeah. But again, not everyone who watches all these movies are diehard comic fans. I mean, there are some. I was just talking about this today. I was getting a haircut today, and my stylist, we were talking about X-Men, and it's funny because I was talking about Rogue and how Rogue got her powers actually was from Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers Captain Marvel, not Captain Marvel Shazam. And
Mhm.
she's like, "Oh, I didn't know that." And I was like, "Yeah, if you actually go back and read some of the comics, that's how she got her powers. Some of her ability to fly and some of that other stuff, which she never had before because she absorbed so much of her power. So and it stuck. Anyway, so I digress. So I mean, just saying, some people really are into the comics, and other people are when like her. She was into the cartoons that were on in the
Mhm.
early '90s. So
Mhm.
I mean, that's kind of I know X-Men from that because I really enjoyed those. All right, so next up, we are going to have you guys. We're going to do our little where is it right here? Banner, our ticker. Okay, so yeah, contact us. Please contact us. We are on Twitter at TheseSciFiGuys. You can email us, TheseSciFiGuys at gmail.com. And if you don't want to do the actual our group, you can just send me directly. You can see underneath my name, I'm at the David Wash, and I'll get any information out to these guys. We've had a couple people ask us some questions on usually just a comment or two on some of our YouTube stuff. It's quite funny. But anyway, our next movie that we're going to do next is going to be Chappie from the directors of District 9. And we will get to District 9 later on, but we're doing Chappie first. Humanity's last hope isn't human. So that will definitely be an interesting one to talk about.
For sure.
And with that, if you guys got anything, we're going to say peace out. See you later.